We are live. Welcome. We are continuing from last week's live stream where we started this koala, so the background is already painted. Tonight we're going to be focusing on creating those realistic looking branches. So our background's out of focus, the branches need to be in focus. We'll be doing more detail there. I'm wondering what it is I'm forgetting. I'm always forgetting something. There's no possible way I'm actually ready. It's kind of weirding me out. Yeah, and at the end of today's stream, I have a box sitting on the floor here that I got from Dick Blick. That just arrived today, so I figured I'd open that with you guys because I ordered a lot of stuff and I don't completely remember everything that I ordered. There was a lot of stuff though. So I will be opening that with you guys at the end of the stream tonight. Hi Heather, I'm okay. I'm just gonna throw this out there so I can be done with it and not have to. If you guys can answer anybody else who asks what was going on. So I didn't have a Patreon video this week. We had to put our my senior Italian Greyhounds, they were 14 and 15, to sleep. We decided to let them go together. It's been a really hard week, so I don't want to talk about it. But if anyone asks what's been going on, just let people know that's it. I don't want sympathy or anyone to even comment to me about it because it's hard and I don't want to sit and cry have a meltdown on the camera. So, but that's what's going on there. So anyway, again, if you could just not comment to me, but if somebody else asks, you guys within yourselves can tell each other. Cause I'm not there yet. So anyway, but my two boys, the Greyhounds, Wade and Gibson, they're young, they're good. So that is that. Paul said, I finally tried acrylics using Liquitex Basics and it scares me when the paint lifts up. What do I do, Lisa? I'm an oil painter. If the paint is lifting up, you're not letting it dry all the way. You have to let it dry completely between layers. That shouldn't otherwise lift. So that is probably what's going on there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We are working on, like I said, the branches. So I'm looking at those colors, trying to decide. I don't have titanium white out, so we're going to do that. No, that's transparent mixing white. That won't work. I've got unbleached titanium white out, but that's not what I need. There we go, titanium white. Thank you, Jessica. Super chat with the heart. Let's see. So, painting. I am going to start on this one with just kind of blocking in my general where my browns versus this turns into more of a grayish tone. This almost has some purplish tones in it too, which I may pull in. I don't have any of that out. So let's get some deep violet out. Okay, so this color here, what I'm going to do is use my raw sienna, but that is not going to be opaque enough. So in order to make it really show up, I've got to add some unbleached titanium white to that. So I'm just going to mix a little of those colors together. I'm using a tackle and bristled filbert. You don't have to use the same brushes. Doesn't really make a big difference. You don't even have to use the same colors. What we're going to focus on is just getting our values in there. Dark's dark enough, light's light enough. That is what's going to make a difference on whether or not your work looks realistic. And this is going to be a very long layering process. So your first few layers, probably not going to look so cute. That's okay. And we'll just fill that in. I'm not worrying about details. I'm not even worrying about values. I'm just blocking in about where that goes. I'm just going to kind of lightly shade that area in. So see how I did not push very hard and I'm able to really easily see this, where that shadow is going to go. I've got to come back in and darken it up, but that's fine for now. Looks like we've got a little bit more that's going to show on the underside over here. I'll throw that in. Actually, yeah, close enough. And that's probably good enough for the base there. I think I am going to round that just a bit. Here and here. Kind of an odd shape there. So I'm going to go ahead and rinse that brush. Thanks, Carla. Aw, thank you. She said, to one of the best tutors ever. Thank you so much. Okay. So my base layers in here are going to be kind of a grayish brownish tone. We've got some deep violet, it looks like I'll mix in there. So I'm gonna get some black. This is Mars Black. I'll throw a bit of my red oxide, which browns it up a bit. And then I'm gonna let's throw in some titanium white. I've got some unbleached titanium white. I'm just gonna throw a bunch of colors in here. Just need to get a base a little bit lighter. That's gonna be way too... I'm just grabbing colors and throwing those in there. I just need this base for the branch. There we go. That should work. Now, a lot of this is going to end up being white. Like, we'll really lighten that up. But we're going to go ahead and come on through here. I need to lift this up on the edge there so I can actually get the edge. We'll be putting this, so this is kind of a mid-gray. I could have gone a little bit lighter. I'm gonna be coming back through with lights and darks from here though. So you've got, with art, there's no one way to get to the same end. You could do this a million different ways. I like to go with kind of a medium, actually I'll just leave that so I can see where my dark is going to go there, but a medium color and then layer lights and darks from there. I'm just gonna go over light so I can kind of see where that area is gonna be. Now this canvas, it is a Frederick's watercolor canvas board, and just for transparency, I'm sponsored by Frederick's. They did provide me with this canvas, but I'm not otherwise like compensated for telling you guys this is what I like to use. It's just what I like to use. And it's a very smooth canvas. So normally a normal canvas board, especially this size, I wouldn't trust. They tend to warp. But this one, the Frederick's, they don't. They've really, really held up well. I'm surprisingly well, because this one was actually went through our move and was not stored in the best way, but it was fine. It's a watercolor canvas board, so it is a canvas. Now, somebody thought that it was paper on a board. It's not. It's actually canvas. It's just a really, really fine tooth canvas. So this allows really smooth blending, and I can essentially dry brush, and it won't even look like dry brushing. Like, that's what I'm doing here. My brush is kind of dry. We're just gonna wipe that over there. And a little bit over there, so I can see where my shadow is going to go. It just makes it a little easier for me. I mean, it's not like I can't freehand that in. It doesn't really matter, but may as well simplify things if I can. And now we need this to dry. Now, whoever had asked about their acrylic paints lifting, this may be your problem. If you were to go on top of this right now, that paint is going to lift and expose what was underneath because it's not dry. We need that completely dry for that to happen. Paul said, how many coats of gesso should I put on my stretched canvas to make it smooth? Frederick's isn't available in my area. It depends on the canvas. I usually do 2 to 3 coats, and in between each coat, and this is important, make sure it dries all the way. I also make sure each coat is smooth. So if I've got a lot of brush strokes, I will usually go over it with a mop brush to smooth it out. And that just adds to helping that end result be smooth. Let's see. Pseudo Hobbit said, I just wanted to say, love your channel. It's really spitting me to try new things. Spitting. I don't know if I'm reading that right. Awesome. Spit away. Spit on all the new things. Maybe not like brand new things because you just bought them, but that's awesome. Welcome. Okay. Coffee. I need it. Okay. Yeah, Carol asking about the Photoshop app. I just use the Photoshop suite. It's always updated, so there's no like this version or that version. It's always the current version. Let's see. Brenda said, is it best to use only a smooth canvas? The ones I've been using have texture. I mean, some texture is good, and it depends on what you're doing. For the style that I paint, I want as smooth as I can get. Now, this is really smooth. The Frederick's Blue Label also works. Belgian Linen, the Frederick's Belgian Linen acrylic canvases work real well. Those are nice and smooth. But it depends on what you're trying to do, because let's say you wanted to paint with a palette knife. You need it to have more tooth. You need it to have more texture so that the paint has something to grip to. So it really depends on the type of painting that you're doing. So I don't want to give the impression that the smoother the canvas, the better the canvas. That's not really what determines how good it is, but this is the proper type of canvas for the style that I'm painting, if that makes sense. If I were painting a different style, then I would go with a different type of canvas. So I like stuff that's very smooth. It makes it way easier to get nice detail. It makes it very easy to get the smooth blending, or easier, I should say, to get the smooth blending. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and dry that, or we're gonna sit here forever. Actually, you know what I should do is not you know, while we're waiting for that to dry, let's go ahead and get these other branches blocked in too. We need to get those tonight anyway. I forget this isn't just a random paint. We're doing a paint along. I need to move along. Okay, so let's get that light area here again. Mixing some unbleached titanium white with my raw sienna. Paul said, by the way, I followed Chris Dunlop on Instagram and commented on one of his artworks mentioning you, and he replied back saying he also follows you. Yeah, I love Chris. He's awesome. His work is just, I'm sure you look through his gallery. It's phenomenal. Okay, so we've got a lighter area here. Let's see. It's not super huge, just this little bit here. And I may honestly, when the painting is done, if this is too, like, draws attention to the upper section of the canvas, there's a possibility of me toning that down. I don't think it will, but when you're painting, so in this case, even though my photograph has this light area where the exposed wood is, if the overall balance of my piece, if I back up and my eye just keeps getting drawn to this one spot, that lets me know I need to change that. That's where you come in as an artist and make it better. So let's go ahead and get the browns now, or grays, I guess. I'm just throwing a bunch of these colors in here. Art Lady said, had trouble keeping up with you, so I'm doing this on a small 8x6 canvas board. Traced off the screen, worked a treat and no ink used. Thank you. Nice. Okay. So we're just going to block that in. And I may have to change the camera settings a little bit as the lighting changes in here because the sun's still up and my studio is really bright, as you saw. Well, if you saw on Instagram and Facebook, I posted the, I need to post them to MeWe. I don't know how, I haven't tried posting video actually off my phone onto MeWe. I need to look into that. But my studio has a lot of windows, which is amazing, but also it's really, oh, I'm missing a line there. It's really, hold on, I have to pay attention to what I'm doing here. You can come here, so you're probably going to come out this way. It's really bright, but when the light goes down, you've got that constant change, and so I have to go and change the settings for those. So I may have to do that. Hi, Martha. And again, just being messy. I don't care about any of this being exact. It doesn't really matter. I do, though, now, as I say that, one thing that I am doing is making sure that my edges are clean. So I've mixed a little bit of water in there and see how I can do this in one stroke. Nice smooth edge. If when you're trying to get a smooth edge, you do a bunch of these strokes, you just made it fluffy. You have a furry branch now. In this case, not suitable. So we want to work on getting those nice smooth brush strokes. So not a whole lot of tiny, like here, he's fluffy. So we can, around the koala, almost called him a panda, we can do those looser brush strokes. But when you're trying to get those edges, try to do that in one brush stroke as much as possible. And again, I am mixing water with that paint, so that helps it to flow more smoothly. Heather said, the camera on the palette is frozen. Oh, is it? Crap. You are correct. I don't know. Let me see if I can fix that. It may or may not get fixed. I may screw everything up by doing this. Did that do anything? That one still works. Yeah, that is weird. Why are you frozen? Yeah, it's not even there. Okay, hold on one second. I need to just, there we go. Okay, it caught up. Hopefully that'll continue. Let's see. Paul said, Minnie said that the look of acrylic in the need is flat. Does varnishing make it more like an oil painting? Yeah, if you varnish, so the acrylics, and that's one of the things I like about acrylics while I'm painting, they do have a fairly, well, at least the acrylics I use. You can use acrylics like Liquitex Heavy Body or Liquitex Soft Body. They have a glossier finish as you're painting. I don't like that. I like the flat look because it photographs so much better. And then my tracing and transfer paper method works well. Charcoal pencil, if I want to sketch something out there, works well. Everything works better. I like it better on the flat surface. So that is definitely, for me, a good thing. And then when I varnish it, it comes all back to, nice and shiny, just like wet paint, once that gloss varnish goes over it. This is a light area, so I'm just going to, actually, let's mix a little bit of. So in happier news, I'm really excited. So I have to tell you guys because I'm so excited about it. One of the plans for our house was, and it was always to get red-eyed tree frogs. I want a vivarium in the living room with red-eyed tree frogs. So I went on, what day did I do that? Tuesday, and set up the process to get that started. I'm having it built, like the people at, it's DFW Reptivarium here in, well, North Texas, and they're going to be building it and putting the plants in, and I told them that the plants are just about as important to me as the frogs, so like I need good plants. So I'm really excited. I'll have that to share soon, and that we'll be making a video out of it. So I'm really excited about that. You know what also is great about that? That means, you know how many red-eyed tree frog reference photos we're going to have now? Like, we are getting all the reference photos. I'm really excited about that because those are my favorite frogs to paint by like far. I absolutely love them. I used to have a Australian White's tree frog. I had him for 12 years. He was really old. His name was Rib. His last name was Bit. So I'm trying to figure out names for the new frogs when I get them. And it'll be, you know, not this month that I'm getting them because I've got to get the tank set up. And then it has to set and get the springtails because it's a bioactive. So it's very natural, like the way that it's set up. It's kind of like a reef aquarium where you have pods and different things in it to help keep the tank running well. So you're recreating nature as much as possible. So that's what we're doing for this one. So with the live plants, everything is going to be very, very natural for them. And it's going to be 36 tall by 24 wide by 18 deep. So it's a good size. And I'll be doing 2 or 3 frogs in there. And I'm really, really excited. I've been planning on this since Aquashella in, when was that one? March of 2019. Like I've been planning on these frogs for a while. I saw them there and was like, this is my future. I love frogs. So I haven't had them in a very long time. We're going to need names for them though. So there will be at least 2. I'm hoping a male and female, not that I'm trying to breed them, just because it seems like that's right. So I need to come up with some good names for those guys. I am so, so excited. So starting Monday, the guy who will be putting it together is on vacation through Monday. So he's the one I talked to, but he was about to go out of town. So Monday he'll be texting me or starting to text me photos of plants. Or options for some of the plants. So I'm just really lightly going over this to get an idea of where the light area goes. It's not that light. This is too light. That's fine. We're just blocking it in. So anyway, thought that was pretty fun to share. Happier news. And then I'm also upgrading the reef tank sometime soon. I've got some people that are getting everything together for me on that. Actually, my friends at Aquashella are helping me with that. So that will be soon too. Soon my clownfish get a bigger house. I mean, they don't care if they're clownfish. They just sit in one space unless they're begging for food. But either way, they're getting a bigger house. I've mostly finished my plans for, like, when we moved in. I wanted to get the planting and everything in the backyard mostly done before I started on the vivarium and the reef tanks. So we are moving on to that stage. Let's see. Mary said, I've been painting for years, but I still like to watch other artists work to see if I can learn something new. Do you too? Yes. Well, I don't that often just because of time, but absolutely. Like I'll see something that someone does and it's like, what did I think of? That is genius. That's like just different ideas. Absolutely. And even if you don't do it like exactly like them, it may spark an idea in your head of a different way to do something or a different, like, yeah, always wanting to learn. That's very cool. Anna said, just finished a full color ink drawing of that same photo. Saw your Instagram post and had to jump on here. That is awesome. It's a really cool photo. I didn't even find it. One of you guys found it for me as a suggestion for this project. What is going on here? Okay. Oh, my screen's not down all the way. That's why. Okay, so we'll just block that in. All those lines I have scribbled in there, they just kind of help me when I'm doing the initial drawing, but they're not necessary. I'm going to freehand all that back in. You know, most of these, I don't need to be that exact. Okay, so let's get that lighter area. I'm going to rinse my brush. Again with the unbleached titanium white and some raw sienna. And this is going to go through some really ugly stages. Don't get discouraged. That's totally normal when you're painting. It'll look like a child is doing it. That's normal. It's actually kind of weird when it doesn't. Not at the early stages anyway. And now you also don't have to jump around and work on all the branches at once like what I'm doing. I'm doing that just to save time because, we don't want to be here forever. But if it's easier for you, and it is going to be for a lot of people, here I'm mixing my red oxide with some black, which gives me a nice brown. I could use brown, but I like the colors I get here. I get a bigger variety. The brown, so going back to, I'm jumping all over the place. I'm sorry. My brain has not been here the last few days, so good luck following along with me. But if I use the normal browns in Liquitex Basics, they just get gunky and chunky, if that makes sense. If you've used Liquitex Basics, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And I don't use brown often enough that I was going through it fast enough. And I realized quickly, I just mix it with this. I'm not having a problem with the red oxide getting chunky, maybe because I use it faster. So, and when it gets chunky like that, the paint's still fine. You're just going to thin it with water, but I don't want to put in the extra work. So I've gotten to where I don't even buy brown anymore. I just buy red oxide and mix it with my black. Gail said, at this point of the painting, it looks like a scene from Cute Predator. Brenda said, did you use an airbrush on the background? Missed the beginning minutes if you mentioned it. We did that last week. So if you missed last week's live stream, all of the whole background and using the tracing and transfer paper to get the image onto the canvas, that was done last week. So there's a video still with that if you wanted to follow along there. So we're separating this. You guys had suggested this, or wanted this, maybe not suggest, I don't know. I don't know what day it is, so don't ask me. But I can't remember anything. But the concept was the idea was to go ahead and do several part painting so we can go with something that was a little bit more advanced. Because most of the live streams, what we were doing is something that we would get done in 2 hours, which limits, the subjects we can choose because you can only get so much done in 2 hours. So that is what we're doing here. I'm just going to fill that in. I'm going to switch to a larger brush. That's going to take me forever to get that base layer. I don't need a perfect color. I just want something to throw in there. Oh, I do want a little darker than that though. There we go. We're just going to fill that in. Okay, so there are our base layers. Now we can come on over here. Actually, this brown, I'm just going to pull some of that while it's out. That's a nice brown. I'm going to fill in some just right in here. And we've got to go a lot darker anyway, but it's a good transition there. Now, if this looks a little rough, totally okay. It just gives you texture to your tree, so that's kind of a nice thing. And then we're going to come over here. I'm going to use some of that too here. Just get that base. Get a little violet in there. Okay, now I'm going to rinse the brush and then dry this, and we can start in on our details. So plug your ears or take your earbuds out if you've got headphones on. So talking about lifting paint, there's a couple areas here that are a little bit wet. Watch what happens. If I take wet paint over here with a wet brush, nothing happens. It doesn't come off. But if I hit a spot where it's a little bit wet, can you see where it just lifted right there? That is what happens if your paint is not all the way dry. Now, I don't care. I'm going to make that work into details. But here again, there's a slightly wet spot. I don't know if you can see, you'll be able to see when it dries. Another, it lifts that paint off because it's not completely dry. And that's why you want to make sure between layers, it has to be 100% dry. Not like, oh, it's mostly dry to the touch, it's good. No, like really dry. I can't talk. Which paintbrush brand? Wow, say that a few times. Do I like? I don't have a definite like. This is the brush I always use. I really go for these Master Touch brushes. The generic from Hobby Lobby are one of my favorite, which is funny because usually I'm kind of anti-generic supplies. I like the brushes. Simply Simmons I like. I'm not a like must have the most expensive brush person. I don't know if it's just because I've used cheap stuff for so long. I've learned to adapt to make them do what I want them to do. I've never used really expensive brushes, so I don't know if I would feel much different with those, but the cheap ones work for me. So I'm like, why would I spend $80 on a single brush when the $2 one worked? Maybe not $2, maybe $5 or $10. I don't know, I always get them when they're 40% off. Those just work for me. So I'm not one to spend a ton of money on the more expensive brushes. Now, maybe someday I'll try an expensive brush and be like, wow, my life has changed and I'll change my mind. But as of right now, yeah, I'm not using super expensive brushes. But they are Taklon bristled brushes. Most of them are filberts, rounds, and liner brushes. Okay, so let's start getting some detail here. We've got some straight lines. I need some more water. That's getting a little dry. I'm just going to start building up. Now, I don't care that the color isn't quite right yet. I'm going to glaze over all of this. But I do want to start getting that shape. We'll get a darker outline here. If you're more comfortable, you can switch to a round brush or a liner brush. Don't feel like you have to use a large brush. Now, I do it's almost like a faux finish when I paint wood. I'm not sitting there trying to make it look exactly like the reference photo. I don't think that makes the artwork look any better. What I am doing is trying to get a general what it mostly looks like, but without sitting there making every little detail exact. Okay, let's get some highlights in here. I'm going to use some unbleached titanium white. Jessica said, you have really inspired me as an artist. I'm super OCD. Your advice to just keep painting has helped my depression. I'm painting again and have a website now as you advise. That is awesome. Good job. Jason said, what type of plants are you going to put in the frog environment? So I don't know. The guy, he was listing off technical names and I don't know most of the plants by that. I mean, for years, I mostly have focused on orchids. And then I just got into more adeniums. I've got some succulents, but orchids and adeniums are kind of more my thing, mostly the orchids. So Phalaenopsis orchids to be exact. But I'm not sure what all he showed me a couple of plants and my jaw dropped. I was like, that is amazing. There was one, it's not a monstera, but it has the outer leaf, not the holes like the monsteras can have, but the outer leaf shape and the two colors. I thought it was fake. It looked like plastic to me. It was stunning. So I know that's going to be one of his focal points that he wants to put in there, but he said he's going to talk to some of his vendors and get me some stuff that's a bit more rare since I do like plants so much. And he's going to get some cuttings out of his vivariums for me. So I don't know. That's like the extent of what I know right now. So I'm really excited for Monday to start getting photos of. Hopefully he remembers. Otherwise, I'm going to be like calling the store like, have photos? Can you text me? But yeah, that is the extent of my knowledge, which is very, very little at this point. Okay, I'm going to do the next part with two brushes. I'm going to take a clean, this one will end up getting a little damp, but I'm going to use that to kind of smudge stuff around. I'm going to start building up where the highlights go. Now I've got to come back here and tint this. This is not staying as it is, but it gives me just a base. While that dries, I'm going to start dry brushing. And I know I often say I don't like dry brushing, but this is one of those times where it tends to look really good because I need this very rough look. So my brush doesn't have a lot of water or a lot of paint on it. I'm going to start building the texture. And again, this comes in layers, so it doesn't have to look perfect right away. I mean, it never has to look perfect, but don't get frustrated like, oh my gosh, it doesn't look like my photo yet. Well, of course not. We're not done. We're going to put lots of layering. Layering, lots of layers. Anna said, what brand product do you use to varnish your acrylic paintings? I use the Liquitex. They're high gloss varnish. I put 2 or 3 coats of that. I love it. Paul said, maybe because I use oil painting that I can freely use liquid. I got carried away with using water on acrylics. And now that is possible. There is if you use like mostly water and very little paint, and I've done that, it'll get to where if you scrub too hard, you can kind of scrub some of that off. Once it's varnished, it's going to stay, so it's not a problem long term. But the way, if you're scrubbing on top of an area that you really water down, yeah, that can kind of rub out. So that would make sense. I haven't seen, did anyone have frog suggestions for the red-eyed tree frogs yet? I mean, you guys name everything. I'm surprised no one's throwing out a bunch of names for those. I still loved Rib's name. Rib and Bit, or his first name Rib, last name Bit. And I was tempted to do that for these. Just name 2 of them, 1 Rib and 1 Bit, but my husband gave me it. He said no. I mean, he said I could name them whatever I want, but he was like, that is just, don't do that again. I thought it was hilarious. So see how I'm starting to just kind of looking at the reference photo, where are those general lights and where are those general, like see, just building up shape. Do they need to be exact? Absolutely not. And this is really watered down. This is just my titanium, yeah, that's just titanium white, but it's thinned out with a lot of water. Okay, so I should back that up. I had said not a lot of water, a lot of not of paint. There is water on it, but it is, I'd say more water than paint, but it's also kind of drying out. So it's just a very light, I'm shading, well, by dry brushing and building that up. So that sounds like a horrible contradiction right there. Also at this point too, so the water, I've got water that's up in here, that's kind of coming down into the paint too. Violet Sky said, I love the video of your studio. So fun to see the behind the scenes. Your studio is amazing. Thank you. Now if I just clean it, we'd be better set. It's kind of a work in progress. Kind of a work in progress. I keep adding more plants. That they definitely make me happy in here. Like they make me want to be in here. But I need to find better ways to organize like under the studio and then this whole other side of the studio. Like I like the plant section, but this side is just a mess. Kind of drives me crazy, and I need to figure out, this one is more of the white, so we get the highlight in there, but I need to figure out a better way to organize some of this stuff. Let's see, Starving Artist Collective said, should names be food-based? I don't think they need to be. The chickens, their names are food-based. So I think we could go with anything. I don't think they need to be. Actually, I think I would almost prefer them not to be just because that's like the chicken thing. I don't know, anything super like cute and creative that you guys can think of. Again, I don't care about colors. Like this is going to have violet glazed over the bottom section. So I'm just going to put in white to start getting my general shapes in, and then we can tint the color to make it easier. If I sit here and go, okay, this needs to be a deeper violet, I need to mix that color, I'm going to spend a whole lot of time. And I don't want to say waste time, but I'm going to waste time mixing the color beforehand. It doesn't need to be mixed beforehand. Just come on through this, get your values. So it's almost like well, it is an underpainting, but get those values, the general lights and darks, and then we can glaze the color to tint it after, and it saves so much time. So see how I'm just kind of making a mess. Pretend you had way too much caffeine. Kind of shaky hand. Got that highlight along the edge there. Then it continues over here. So now this is kind of an important thing. Look how we've got a highlight over here, and I've got to brighten this up a lot. And then it stops And then it starts again. When you're painting branches and you're painting light, that's an important thing to watch. Look at the reference photo. Where is that light hitting? Because it's easy, and this is what I always did. I always thought, okay, highlight goes all the way across. And maybe it does. Sometimes it will. Usually it won't. The light, because the other branches are going to cause random shadows or other leaves, you want to make sure you're capturing that. And it ends up, even if you're not seeing the branch that's causing the shadow, it's still there and you get a much more natural feel. So watch your reference photos when you think, okay, my light source is here. Because I remember that in high school, being taught that in my first failed art class. This concept of where's your light source? Your light source is here. Okay, no. It doesn't necessarily work. Yes and no. You're going to have multiple light sources. Light bounces around. You're going to have light hitting this and bouncing over here, causing a more diluted light. The light's not as strong, but it's coming from multiple sources. And so watch your reference photo. That reference photo's got a lot of information for you. DJ said, I had a frog for years. He passed now, but I still loved his name. Albie. That's cute. That's really cute. Jason said, Lisa, how do you tell red-eyed tree frogs apart? I don't know if you're telling a joke right now or if there's an actual, I have no idea. Maybe you're actually saying, see, that sounds like the setup for a joke. But I don't know size. I know the females get larger. They can get up to 4 inches. So if you have adults, you would be able to kind of tell by that. For me, when I had my White's tree frog, I bought him a couple of buddies that were adults. He was a baby when I got him. All his buddies didn't last as long, but they were adults, so who knows how old they were when I got them. But one of them, you could always tell by the size. Like, there was a definite different size. One of them was missing a toe or part of his leg. He was fine, but yeah, he's you could definitely tell by the size on them. And I only had 2 at a time. The tank I'm getting is big enough for probably 3. So to be super comfortable, I don't want to overcrowd it. So it's a big tank. So people will look at something like that and go, oh, you can put 10 frogs in there. No, you want them to have plenty of space. So it's, we'll see size-wise, but they all have to be similar in size or they'll eat each other. So there's that, fun frog fact. They'll eat anything that moves that's smaller than them. If it fits in their mouth, it's going in their mouth. Clark said, speaking of plants, how do you get your orchids to stay on or be mounted to the pieces of wood that you have yours on? Fishing line. You use fishing line and you wrap it in there with some moss, this whatever moss, and that way it'll keep some moisture. Otherwise, it'll dry out too fast. Even then, it still dries out pretty fast. But you use fishing line so I put a little bit of moss, put the orchid, get the roots all situated where I want them, put moss on top of that to try to keep the fishing line from digging too much into the moss, and you just keep wrapping and wrapping and wrapping and wrapping until everything's secured on there. I'm just going to smudge that out with that clean dry brush. So we just slowly start building this texture. I'll put a few more highlights over there. Let's see. Brenda said, I just set up a mini painting corner in my office and I used clothespins to hang my paints and a hanging bag for all my brushes and my extra canvases are stacked behind the desk. That's a good idea. Let me scroll back up. Ramona said, since they are calidrius, I can't say names or words. Maybe Callie and Dreyfus. That's pretty cute. That's a cute one. Jackie said, I just finished this koala and colored pencil today. Man, those branches were a challenge. Oh yeah. I think I saw yours. You posted on, didn't I see yours? I think I saw yours. If yours is the one I'm thinking of, it was amazing. Names, Tiki, Wasabi, P. I do like wasabi because I've been on my vegan sushi roll kick lately. No, I'm not vegan, but I like vegan sushi rolls. They're easy to make and they're really tasty and I really like wasabi. Prince Naveen and Princess Tanya from The Princess and the Frog. I've never seen that. I haven't seen a lot of the newer Disney movies. Like I watch, okay, I'm going to leave that go set to dry, but I've watched all of like the old ones that I grew up with, but I haven't watched a lot of the new ones. My favorite is still Lilo and Stitch. That and Little Mermaid. Let's see. Jason said, it's not a joke, just wondering if a reference for names. Gotcha. It's so funny because when it was set up, it sounds like the beginning of a joke. So do you feel like I never understand what you're saying? Because that's pretty much the case. Yeah, no, the size. There may be another way. I don't know. I'll have to, that's something I've definitely got, I'll have to learn. How about Spud Corn Frog? Spud Corn Frog. Is that a reference to something? I feel like I should know what that is. Spud Corn Frog. I don't know. Spud's really cute. Actually, corn's really cute too. So we're just going to start building up where the general lights are. And again, see how I'm rounding that. Now this is a thing I didn't really point out. Notice that I'm starting to, I round the lines there. They're not straight lines. They need to be rounded so that we start getting the shape of the branch. Lassie, because of Callie and Julia Lewis for the Dreyfus. Maya said, red-eye tree frogs. Ooh, I can't wait for some reference photos of them and your rare plants. Soon. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm not sure if I'm more excited about the frogs or the plants. It's going in my living room. Like it's the main thing I wanted in my, like, I don't want to say main feature, but I guess main feature, I don't know, that I wanted in there. Originally, we considered putting a fish tank in there, and just the way that the layout of the house is, I decided I'd rather have the fish tank in the office. And then frogs in the living room. Start getting just some little details in here. Again, it doesn't need to be exact. Pick a spot and just kind of paint what you see in there. Go for close, not for exact. Now, if you do struggle with getting the general shape of the bark, go ahead and go for more exact. But I mean, you should be able to go kind of loose and just be messy with what you see. And if you have a layer where you're like, wow, that looks terrible, like what I just did, I don't care, I'm gonna go back over it anyway. Like, I can't hurt this. The red eyes make me think of drunks, which makes me think of alcohol, tequila, rum, and whiskey. That's kind of cute too. Maybe that's the, like, or types of wine or something would be a good one too. I kind of like the alcohol theme. I like the themes, I guess. Themes of something, but we already have the food theme because of the chickens. Now, these are way too bright, but that's okay because I'll be glazing over that section there. Casey said, working on the Dahlia, you did an acrylic while watching. Nice. All these scribbles build, and they're not, I should specify this because sometimes when I use the term scribbles, people are like, oh, scribble. No, not scribble. They're kind of like planned scribbles, but they all will build up to the texture that I'm going for. So you've got some vertical, we've got some side to side, we have some that are kind of thicker. Just building texture. And when I say texture, I don't mean like when you touch it, there's no physical texture. I mean visual texture. So it's very messy here, like my studio. Julia said the other name is to name them after South American countries that have rainforests, Brazil, Peru, Bolivia. That's cute too. We were thinking for the Indian ringneck because their origin is India. foods that were like Indian dishes, but none of the names we could, like, I'm not going to remember I'm not going to pronounce it right. So we kind of opted out of that because otherwise I'm going to make a fool of myself every time I say the bird's name, and somebody who actually knows how that's supposed to be pronounced is going to be like, yeah, no, that is not how you say that. You groaning back there, Gibson? Let's see. DJ said, how about flip, flop, and fly? Oh, I'll get 3 frogs. Jason said, yes, you missed my question. Stupid corn, spud corn, and frog as the names. I like the basics. The first cat that I had was a young stray cat that we fed, and she stayed, and we named her Cat. Okay, that's hilarious. Let's see. How about the name Bugaboo? Eyes. That's cute. It's fun coming up with names for critters. Usually my husband takes over and I don't get to name anybody. Although I guess Chicken technically was me. He named the bird Chase. Or no, Jace, sorry. And I kept calling him Chicken. I wasn't trying to change his name. He's a chicken. He's a shoulder chicken and it stuck. Seems like we keep naming each other's animals because Nugget was from one of you guys. Came up with the name Nugget since we had Chicken. And then he keeps naming mine. Just kind of getting a bit sketchy in here. Just get some messy texture. And some of these are coming out a little brighter than I want. I'm going to glaze over it. Doesn't matter. And I'll come back through with black as well to help with the shadows. Like if you just left it here, you're building texture, but it's flat texture. We need to come through with shadows, and then we'll glaze over both the shadows and the highlights. Jason's talking, or not Jason, Nick is talking about taking his dog outside. So one of our challenges has been with Wade. He does not, he'll hold it until he bursts. And it's funny because I was talking about to the Greyhound people last week, and she's got a foster who's doing the same thing. And he's just like, I'm not going to go till I absolutely have to. And that might be in not my bed, but his bed. So I looked up a video, and it's like, I've been training dogs for years. I've never had to train a dog to go on command. Like you let them outside and they go. So, or I'd say go potty and they go. So I watched a video, and she was showing how giving tips on getting them to go on command. And so we got some extra special, like just treats for that. Oh, things are going so much better. He's getting, what a difference. The right treat and the right, order of giving him the command. I wasn't giving the command to make sense to him at the right time. Like you're supposed to, right as he starts to squat, you give the command to go. He's getting it. I'm surprised because he's kind of a derp. But the funny part was I've not been giving Gibson the treat. Gibson, when Wade gets his treat, Gibson gets his. But I'm not giving Gibson treats for going because Gibson doesn't have that issue, and I don't want to pull out treats twice to where Wade is getting an extra and is like, well, I don't like him not to associate why he got that specific treat. Today, Gibson's been watching when Wade gets a treat, and Gibson gets it when Wade gets his. So that I am giving because Gibson, like I said, that's not an issue for him. Gibson got his treat after Wade went. Wade laid down. Gibson goes out and comes zooming over expecting his. He's like, I saw he got one for that, even though Gibson also got one when Wade went. I don't know if that story's making any sense, but it was hilarious because Gibson's watching when Wade gets a treat and is learning from watching with Wade. Really, Gibson's funny because he's so smart. Poor Wade's a bit of a derp. And by bit, I mean he's a derp. Let's see. Midori green. Midori's cute too. How about frog legs? Oh my gosh, Jason, you're not allowed to name my animals. You come up with stuff like I would. Paul said, did I see Lena Dania's story time about accidentally drinking paint? Or I did see the story about accidentally drinking paint thinner. She was so funny the way she said it. Yeah, she's funny. Patty Picasso said, you have to call one of them Hoppy. See, I think that's the type of thing my husband's trying to make me avoid. I still liked Rib and Bit. I almost want to name them that again. I mean, I already had a frog named that, so that's why like it's kind of weird. But I almost want to do it again just to see the look on my husband's face every time I say it. Julia said, were those just short strokes on the texture building for most of the bark areas? Yeah, they're mostly little strokes. Demon, Red Eyes, your favorite Warcraft characters? Possibly. See, I don't have many Warcraft characters. Like, I don't pay that much attention to the storyline on Warcraft. Like, it's cool when I do. Like, I like the story. I just don't really pay that much attention to it, so I can't usually remember. Unless I named them, like, the bosses in raids or something. That's not a terrible idea. Just name one of them Murloc. Oh my gosh. Is there a Murloc with a named Murloc? I need to look into that. How about artist names? Monet, Vincent, Picasso. That I was thinking of. One of my clownfish, the type of coloring she is called a Picasso. So that one I probably can't go with because I already pretty much call her that. But I like that too. Twiggy and Squiggy. How about Simon and Garfunkel? That's not music I was ever into. Like, I know the name, but I can't identify their music. So that one's out of my realm of reference, I guess. I typically name paintings after songs. Not usually the band names, but like, oh God, half my paintings I think are either named after Dead Poetic and Amberlin. I've got several paintings named after. Jason said, dang, I'm having so having fun coming up with names. Fred and Ethel. I can't do Fred because that's my dad's name, although I name everything Fred. But it's too everything is already named. I keep naming my plants Fred. Actually, one of my hibiscus, I named that. Yes, I name my plants. I name my plants, but I usually forget their names. So I name them on the way home from the nursery and then promptly forget what it was. Oop, that is way too wet, way too much water. Let's smudge that out. Thinking characters in a book too, like Akiva and Karoo would be cute from a book I just finished. Ed and Trixie, that's cute. How about read in different languages? I'll never remember it. That's the problem. You guys know I can't pronounce like everyday words correctly. Can you imagine me trying to do words in other languages? I would butcher that like crazy. Then someone would say it was a microaggression, and then there'd be a whole thing, and a follow-up apology video. I'm kidding, but yeah, I'm not going there. I would definitely not pronounce it right. Josie said, do you plan on doing any airbrush live streams in the future? I might. I mean, I did a little airbrushing here. The problem with those, and one of the main reasons that I don't, there aren't many viewers for it. Like, there's not that many of you guys have the airbrush. I don't know how many of you guys watching have an airbrush. So I feel like when I do that, not a whole lot of people can participate. And when I do the paint-alongs, that's kind of the goal, is to have a bunch of people be able or have the ability to participate. So I usually avoid using tools that people won't have. I don't know, maybe I'm looking at that wrong though. If you guys just want to watch it, even if you don't have them, I can. The other problem, depending on how much airbrushing I'm using or doing, I'll usually have to wear a mask, which makes it kind of hard to talk, or for you guys to be able to understand me. But if it was like a small thing where I'm not, filling the room with airbrush paint, I probably could. Maya said, what happened with that skateboard you were painting? Are you now skateboarding around the neighborhood? No, I'm not a skateboarder. I would break all the bones. I would break them all. I'll show you remind me if you can at the end of the live stream. I'll go grab it so you can see it. I love how it came out. They're sending me a mount, so it's gonna be hanging on my wall. But it's a collaboration that I'm doing. They're going to have some of my paintings available, or one of them, my lion, is gonna be available printed on a skateboard. So that's pretty cool. But no, that's just for a collaboration. I've never been able to balance on a skateboard. I can rollerblade. I can't skateboard. I can't ride. Okay. I can ride a bike, but I'm just as likely to crash into something on a bike as I am to like actually stay on it. I don't have good balance, which is weird because I'm fine on rollerblades. I think because for so many years rollerblades were my sole form of like personal transportation, so you know you get used to it. Let's see. Maya said, Ouster, and I can't say it. See, I can't go with that one. I can't say it. Ichabod, I do like Ichabod. Rhonda said, what book did you finish? I need a new book recommendation. If you like, this one's a like fantasy type book. Oh my God, one of the best books, like one of my absolute favorites. It's Daughter of Smoke and I don't remember the name. It's Lainey Taylor, Daughter in Smoke and Bone or Daughter in Smoke and Ash. Hold on, let me double check. I'll tell you, it is so good. Let me see. Husband is texting me something. Make sure that's not. Oh, it's a video. I'm guessing it's either of his baby snake or of one of the chickens. Okay, I'll come back to that. Daughter of Smoke and Ash. Daughter of Smoke and. I always get that backwards. Nope, not that. What app am I opening? Audible. Right now I'm listening to Atlas Shrugged. That one was recommended me by Nick Edgar. Oh, actually, he sent it to me. So good so far. It's weirdly, like, it's told really well. Yeah, Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Lainey Taylor. And it's a trilogy. Oh my God, it's good. It's just beautifully written. Like, everything, if you listen to audiobooks, it's my favorite narrator, Christine Bam. She's the best. So, can't say enough good about that book. Definitely my favorite. One of my top 5, I would say. Maybe one of my top 2. Top 3? I don't know. Really, really good, though. I've listened to it multiple times. I just finished reading it again. Okay, so that builds up some texture. I'm probably going to come back to that, but let's go ahead. I'm going to switch to black. I'm just going to use straight black. We're going to be tinting over it, so I don't need to worry about like, oh, it doesn't have depth because it's flat. I'm glazing over it, so it's fine. Yoda and Chewie. I'm not a Star Wars person. I know, and everyone just gave me a thumbs down. I've never been really into Star Wars. Plus, my mom had a Yorkie named Yoda. Paul said, does the upcoming remaining books of Game of Thrones excite you? I won't read them until he finishes them. I don't trust him to finish. I haven't been keeping up with it because it was like I kind of gave up on it after they butchered that show. Here's an ending that should have lasted like 2 or 3 seasons. We're going to fit into like 2 episodes. It's fine. It's fine. You won't mind. So yeah, I'm not, and I don't trust the author because he was so like, were you ever going to finish those? So I won't read them until they're all completely done and out. If he finishes them all, then absolutely. But I'm not going to hold my breath. So we've got a shadow in here. Let's get that. Let's see. Christine said, Kermit and Tarzan frog names. Kermit's a bit too, that's the like level of obvious as Ribbon Bit was. How about Crimson and Clover? That's cute. Tropical island names. Aruba, Bali. See, I can say things. Solomon, Tahiti, Hawaii, Virgin. No one would understand why I called my frog that. Wade's, by the way, on his back with his legs straight in the air. Kathleen said, days ago I finally broke down and used an Audible credit to get Daughter of Smoke and Bone. Oh my God, it's fantastic. See, I need to post, or maybe I kind of have thought about doing book reviews on some of my favorite books. Just a few blog posts on my website, just because some of these books are so good and so like not read enough. That one is just so good. And here's where everyone gets to super judge me. I'm really excited. So I was a huge fan of the original Twilight books. Well, no, the first 2 Twilight books I really liked. The last 2 are meh. But anyway, I don't know. I just like the first 2 books. And I get that the movies are worst actors 2 of the worst actors in the history of actors. But anyway, moving on. Go ahead and judge me. I'm so excited. The author is finally finishing Edward's point of view. I don't know if you guys knew about this, but at least like 2 of you have to also like Twilight. I can't be totally alone. But she had released, or it got leaked. She had started that book years ago and it got leaked. And only like the first, I don't know, 4 chapters or 5, I forget how many chapters, were leaked from his point of view. And it was excellent. I liked it better than the main from Bella's point of view. And then she was all mad because it got leaked and didn't feel like finishing it. Well, apparently she, I don't know, decided she wanted money and decided to go ahead and finish it. Finally. So, and it's been many years. I didn't think she would. It's been so long. So that one's coming out soon in the next couple of months. I'm really excited about that. I'm a dork. I know there's something wrong with me for liking those books, but I can't help it. I just do. Let's see. Kelly said, well, if you were looking for book names, you could always go with Mbot and Doomslug. Oh my God. I think that might be it. I think Kelly just named my frogs. Doomslug is absolutely like that. Or should I name one of my snails? No, because, and I won't do a nudibranch in the tank, which is essentially what Doomslug is. What are the names of those books? Because I can never remember, Kelly. They're so good. I can't wait for the next one of those to come out. But I really like that. It may end up being Mbot and Doomslug, because as far as book characters go, you're not getting better than those 2. That is funny and genius. Let's see. How about Filbert in Princeton, like the paintbrushes? That's a good idea too. I actually like that. Let's see. Now I will, luckily, when the tank that I'm getting is probably going to be an 80-gallon, which means I will get more fish in addition to what I already have. So we can use some of these names for the fish too. Carol said, hello there all. Hi, Carol. Jason said, Lisa, I like the books. Which books? Oh, the Twilight ones? Okay, that makes me feel better if I'm not the only dork who really likes the Twilight books. The last one was a little bit like, oh, look, we're suddenly trying to be X-Men. That one got a little weird for me, but the first 2, I just really enjoyed them. Those were, and maybe it was because those were the first 2 books I hadn't read in years and years and years. And those were the first 2 books that really got me back into being super addicted to reading all the time. I had to stop reading because I have a very addictive personality with stuff. So I would just not work. I'm like, I can't work. I have to read. Luckily now there's audiobooks. So that fixed that problem. I can listen to books all the time. But those were the first 2 books that really got me back into being hooked on reading constantly. Let's see. Alyssa's art room said, LOL, I kind of like Twilight, but I've always liked vampire stuff. Me too. I'm definitely a fan of vampire stuff. I mean, but can we really call them, let's be realistic, it wasn't vampires. They were glitter pyres. Glitter pyres? Yeah, let's call them glitter pyres. But I still really liked it. It was an original concept. I like original concepts, even if they were glitter pyres. Let's see. Kelly said, Skyward is the series. That's right. I always forget names of stuff. I have to go through my Audible list to see, like you just saw me do. I just finished Daughters of Smoke and Ash, or Smoke and Boat. See, I already forgot. Can you imagine as I age how much worse my memory is going to get? This is not looking good. I mean, the painting's looking fine. My memory potential is not. So we're going to get some thinner lines, these details. And I can come back through and get some of these details too with the blacken later. Now I'm using the same filbert. I'm just holding it to the side and barely adding any pressure. And I can get as thin of a line as I would with most liner brushes that way. But if you're not comfortable, if you're having a hard time getting that sort of detail, go ahead and switch to a liner brush or a round brush. Use what you're comfortable with. Don't feel like the brush I'm using is the brush you need to force yourself to use, with the exception of when we need liner brushes. That you do need to force yourself to learn how to use that right. But a lot of these, when you're first starting to paint, it's going to feel very awkward to try to make a bigger brush do something super tiny. Don't force it. That will come with more practice and more time. And it's not something where I feel like you have to use the big brush and make it, force it to be little in order to get that. Like, that's just going to come the more you paint. You're just naturally going to start picking that up. Let's see. Jason said, wow, you do lose track of the conversation. Yes, I do. Edward or Jacob? Well, considering Jacob was one of the worst actors our time has ever seen, Edward, who's actually an amazing... So I don't know if you guys knew this. He, what is his name? Edward, what is his real name? Somebody tell me, because I don't remember. He's actually an excellent actor. You wouldn't know it because, Twilight. But he's really very, very good. Let's see. Casey said, as a tribute to all your acrylic paintings, I name the frogs Basic, Soft Body, and Heavy Body. That's funny. I like that. Carla said, Bubbles. I may have to name a fish Bubbles. I think wasn't Bubbles in Nemo the yellow tang, if I remember correctly? And I don't think I'm going to do a yellow tang. I think I'm going to do a yellow-eyed cool tang. So maybe I'll name him Bubbles. Which is kind of funny because he's not actually the same kind of fish. So it wouldn't be as silly as like naming a clownfish Nemo. Let's see. Julie said, soon your memory will allow you to hide your own Easter eggs. Oh no, so this is the funny thing about having a bad memory that I love. I will listen to books and like The Daughter of Smoke and Bone, Smoke and Ash that I can't remember already. I know, like, I remember parts of it and I know what happens, but I remember, I lose, like, and I've listened to it multiple times. I forget so much. It's like listening to it almost for the first time again. Or shows, like I can watch a TV show and I know I'd seen that episode. Don't remember what happens at all. I used to do that all the time with, what was it? Supernatural. That show, when I used to have a TV, I could watch reruns like crazy and it would always feel new to me because I just don't remember things. I think it's because I usually am multitasking and so I'm never really fully paying attention to anything. That's probably why my stomach is growling. I made the bad choice today. So I've been doing the whole counting calories thing on the app, which is working. So I'm excited about that. So yay for getting healthier, and my clothes fitting again. That'll be wonderful. But I made the bad choice today to have peanut butter toast. There's a lot of calories in that, which meant I couldn't have a lot of anything else. So I get beans when we're done with this. I'm quite excited, as you can see. But yeah. So my stomach is growling because of my poor choices. So I am still putting the shadows where that pretty much is. Actually, that should come in more. But about where they go in the reference photo. But again, doesn't need to be exact. Oh, that scrolled too far. Stop growling, stomach. Julie said, senior memory. Oh, we got that. See, I don't even remember. Comment just right there. Do I like Anne Rice books? Or Anne Rice. Hers are a bit more serious and a bit darker than what I like. I do the whole girly, like, I want this nice happy ending. Like, everything all fluffy and fairy tales are more my style. Let's see. My husband loves Anne Rice. Dawn said, just wanted to say you are an amazing artist and I love that you are breaking down these sessions up, really focusing on brush strokes, etc. I'm learning so much. Thank you. That's awesome. Yay. Paul said, Rob Pratt. Is that his? No. Robert Patterson. Thank you. That's what it is. Yes. Jacob Taylor Lautner is Jacob. It is not worth remembering that man's name. That man needs. If you're gonna be an actor, and it's so funny because you watch him on interviews and he's so full of himself, and it's like, sweetie, they hired you for your looks, definitely not for your skill. Like, no one, you're bad. Yeah, he was bad. But yeah, not worth remembering that name. Robert Patterson, I don't remember that either, but it is worth remembering if you have a memory, unlike mine. Let's see. Abby said, Rooster and Henny. That's cute. That is actually really cute. Good, more people remember Robert. So everyone else remembers things. I don't. Art Lady said, have you read Morganville Vampires by Rachel Kane? Excellent story. Over 13 books would keep you going for a while. I have not. Are they audible? They have to be audible for me. There's very few books that I read on my own, just time. And I'm really bad. If I start a book, I'm not painting that day because I'm not going to stop reading. Like it's the compulsion is strong in this one when it comes to books. So that was why I had stopped reading for so long, because it's like, wow, I'm getting nothing done because I obsessively nonstop want to read. Mork and Mindy, that's cute too. Okay, so we've got a nice deep shadow all along here. And I don't care, like I'm not leaving the fluff of the koala. How many times have I called him a panda? Because I almost just did that. I'm not leaving the fluff there. The fluff doesn't matter. The fluff will layer on top of it once we start him. Okay, we've got more of these little lines. We get a lot more of these vertical lines. Well, I guess they're technically diagonal, but it's because he's bent. See, Julie said, the Morganville is on audiobook. I listened to several for my library. Nice. Who's the narrator on that one? I wonder if it's someone I know. I mean, not know personally, but like listen to. Sarah said, I feel like I've just started to get the hang of how these strokes should be with the black ones. Nice. And you can go back and forth. Like if you just started getting the feel for it and you realize you don't like the way your brush strokes were for the other ones, the lighter ones, go back and forth. Go over those again if you need to. Thanks, Shaz. Braveheart or Gladiator? I was not a fan of Braveheart. That was not for me. Gladiator, that movie I've watched several times. I actually like that one because it was sort of a happy ending, I guess. But I used to watch that one over and over again. But it's still not my preference for, not girly enough for me, I guess. Now up here on our reference photo, there were leaves in front of the branch, so it's kind of out of focus. I'm not doing that on mine, not on this branch anyway. So mine will be kind of making some stuff up as we go along here. Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of the case for the whole thing, but more so in this area. Because of the way that I cropped it, and it might have been made it. Oh God, I cannot talk. It might have been the reflection of the glass there too. Maybe it wasn't branches. I'm not sure there. I changed the background too. The background had a bunch of detail that I removed or badly photoshopped out. So let's go ahead and start getting these kind of on the inner side of some of these white areas. We'll come on down with those. Just loose brush strokes here. Very messy. Got a deep shadow over here. And another one right in here. What about the Vampire Diaries? I didn't finish that show, and I didn't finish, what was the other one? The originals I really liked, but I didn't finish either one of them. They start getting kind of like most series, you get to it, it's like, yeah, I'm losing interest in this. You guys are getting weird on your stories. And I heard that their originals had I don't remember what it was they said, so don't worry, no spoilers, because I don't know anything. But I remember reading a review on it and thinking, that doesn't, like, that's a weird, not, like, no, I'm out. I don't need to keep watching that. And what's funny is the original, like the book that the Vampire Diaries was written off of, I read that years before the show came out, and it was one of the worst books I've ever read. Everything about it was horrible. So that was one of few cases. They certainly improved on the books. That was terrible. You know, another show that's come out now, The Discovery of Witches, that trilogy, the All Souls trilogy by Deborah Harkness, I believe is her name. That book, those are a good series. It's that one's a trilogy, obviously, All Souls trilogy. But if you're looking for a book, that was really good too. And that they've made into a TV show. The first season is out now. It aired in, I want to say the UK. Well, not in the US. Now it is on certain channel or certain, like, there was some kind of, I think it was a horror thing that my husband had signed up for, a horror station or network or whatever, and it was on there, which doesn't totally make sense, but it's fairly accurate to the book. That was actually, I was pretty impressed on that one. It was well done. I don't love how they like some of the cast. I'm kind of like, really, that's not how the book was. Make it like the book. But some of it is really well done. Mainly, the main character, the main vampire, just doesn't look to me like the vampire in the book should have. But whatever. Let's see. True Blood is still the best. I never finished that series either. I read it. Well, Sookie Stackhouse. I read all of the books. And it felt like at the end of those books that, don't worry, again, no spoilers. The story itself and how it ended, I wasn't so much bothered by, other than it felt like it was written by a ghostwriter. I had to wonder, like, is this the same author? Because this doesn't feel like it's the same author at all. At all. The last few books got weird, so I reread them again, and it was like book 6 or 7, and then I was like, yeah, this is where it starts losing me, like it wasn't as good. But the first few, God, I really enjoyed those. Those were the first audiobooks, actually, that I listened to that got me into audiobooks. The first, like, 6 or 7 or 8. I forget when it started getting weird. But, and not just weird, and, like, I like weird, but it was weird and not well done. Like, I don't care about these characters anymore. Like, this is just whatever. And then the author came back, and I guess a lot of people had complained about it. And she kind of came back with the final screw you as like a summary of what the characters' lives were like in the future. Like, here's a summary of what happened. And it was even worse. It was so bad. And so, like, this is the most depressing, like, piece of crap I have ever read. Like, this is bad. Painfully so. I never finished the TV show. I watched a few episodes of it, and it seemed okay. Carla said, have you seen those, or those of you that have the rimless fish tanks? Wow, I'm addicted. Yeah, the tank that I'll be getting is most likely going to be a rimless, but I will be putting a lid on it, so it's not truly a rimless. But rimless are what most of them are now. So yeah, that is what technically my tank right now is rimless, but I have a lid on it, so you can't tell. But too many fish will jump. I mean, even fish that aren't typically jumpers will jump. You'll end up with a dried out fish on your floor. So to me, it's very important to have a lid. Even though the rimless is very pretty. But yeah, that is what we'll be going with. Let's see. Jason said The Discovery of Witches seems like a good series. It really is. I haven't watched the last episode of the first season. Not because it's not good. I just got busy and hadn't gotten a chance. Let's see. Clark Feiner said, I'm reading All Souls trilogy and book one did nothing for a day and a half. I read all I can relate to being sucked into a book. Great series too. 2 to go. Yeah, so good. I want to say the second book, the first and the second were probably, the third's good, but I think the second was the most fun to me. I really enjoyed the second book. It was just, they're all good. They're just all good. But the second one there, that one was fun. Let's see. Where were we? Lori said, love Discovery of Witches, caught up on cable channel a couple of years ago. I caught it on a, got it, I'm not reading right. Paul said, you have no idea how I make alternative endings with Game of Thrones finale before going to sleep. I'm just so sad and so disappointed. It's good we never went to Chicago bar to watch party. Yeah, I still can't get over how they butchered that show. And it's hilarious because Chicken sings the theme song, but he butchers that too. Like he changes the ending, he just skips over it. And I'm like, that is really fitting, Chicken. That is how the song goes now. It's perfect. So, yeah, that was the writers for that show, not the author, but the writers really should not be given jobs again. Like, how do you ruin an entire franchise? Like, the amount of money that I would imagine they lost on merch, because I would have bought every bit of merch. I was so into that show. And after I finished watching it, it was like, they finished, and it was like, wait, what? Like, no, what? Like, they had to have lost a lot of money because of the choices made on that. You can switch to a liner brush if you're having a hard time getting thin lines. I'm just barely letting the tip of the bristles touch the canvas to get these thin lines here. Casey said, really struggle to mix magenta with the primaries in acrylics. I know you've talked about how hard it is. Any tips would be appreciated. Yeah, you have to use the right one. You want to use Quadonkadonk Red, which is not how you say it, or whatever. It's actually, where is it? It's right here. It is the quinacridone. I can say it if I slow down and read it. Crimson. You need that specific blue with your ultramarine blue. Like, you have to use a very specific combination, or you're not going to get like a bright purple or those bright colors. It needs, like, if you might think, oh, just red will work. No, it has to be a very specific one to have the right tones to mix from. Paul said, oh yes, they were supposed to be on a new upcoming Star Wars trilogy, but Disney figured out they were bad for business. Good, I'm glad. And from what I was told, or what people were saying, I don't know how true it was, but people were saying that the reason that they kind of skipped out on, didn't want to put more seasons, because they were told, HBO told them they could have more time and do more seasons, like to finish it properly. No, they needed to get it done, because from what people were saying, they wanted to go do the Star Wars thing. So if they lost that, good. No one should hide, like, they ruined a show that people were like, the actors were making comments about how people were stupid for complaining, and it's like, people were so invested in this show for years. They, no, the fans get a say in that for sure, and being unhappy with it being rushed through like that. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and start glazing, and then we're going to come back through and do more of the details. So I'm going to dry this with a hairdryer to make sure everything's nice and dry before we start with the glazes. Kathleen, who would rather me not talk nonstop about things that I would, wants to hear more about techniques, Patreon. That's going to be a better fit for you. These live streams that we do, we just chat, we hang out, get to know each other. I mean, these are definitely a little bit different. But if you want just straight, we are talking about what we're doing, Patreon's going to be a much better fit for you. I definitely jump all over talking about whatever you guys are, bringing up. So that's just the nature of these live streams. But yeah, Patreon videos, those ones, wait, legs are in the layer. See, I'm all over the place on a live stream. But those ones, Patreon, it's just very straightforward, very much more like what you're probably looking for. And with those there, or if you're not already signed up there, for as little as $4 a month, you get access to all of my weekly, except for this week, because personal stuff. You get access to all of my weekly 1 to 2 hour, sometimes longer, real time. Sometimes they're sped up where it's like just repeating the same stroke again and again. But that every single week there's a new one. There's like 200 of them, I think, right now. If you go to my website, lachri.com/ just go to lachri.com, scroll down a little bit. It'll show you Patreon library. Click on that. You can see everything that's available there, but that may be more what you're looking for. Let's see. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and glaze. So I'm going to take, I need a bit of my deep violet, so that magenta will thin that out. I'm going to add a little bit of black. I think I've got too much water on this though. Let's soak some of that up. Now when you do a glaze, I'm using water for my glaze. You don't want to mix in an opaque color like titanium white or unbleached titanium white, too opaque. That will give you a very foggy look. That isn't the look that I want there. Here, we'll just lightly go over this. And I need to pull some browns in this as well. Not all of the branches have this, but some of these had this little, there's probably some of it is just the bark, but it looks almost like there's a reflection from a light or something giving that purple glow. I think it's pretty. I'm going to include it. Okay, now we're going to mix some red oxide with some Mars Black. I'm going to get a nice warm brown tone. Thin that with water. Now the red oxide is more opaque, so that is going to cover more. It'll kind of soften stuff out a bit more. So we're going to go over that. And let's grab another brush. Let's see, which one? I just need another clean brush that's dry. Actually, I lied. I'm gonna go a little bit damp, a little bit of water. But where the edge is, I'm just gonna soften some of that out because I'm not trying to make the whole thing just solid brown. Let's see, tint the color there a little bit. We've got some browns in here. And I'm gonna smudge it out just a bit. So we get a lot of variation where it's kind of brown into the grays. Starving Artist Collective said, love the word chaos of the chat. Yes, chaos is a good way to put that. Jason said, have you read any Anita Blake books? I don't know who that is. I like the combination of were, vampire, and other creatures. What are the names of some of her books? I don't recognize the name. Hi, Sneaks. So just again, glazing here. Tinting that color. I'm going to do a little bit of that brown back here. We'll fade a little in there as well. Just soften that out. I'm going to pull some of the brown up here too. With the way the lights are, you probably can't see this part that well. But see how I'm still leaving some of that white. And if I cover too much of it, I just go back over. You know, you can go back and forth. There's no limit to how many layers you can do. So don't be discouraged if you have a layer and you're like, huh, really was not like that was not what I was hoping for there. Let's get a little bit of my raw sienna in. Oops, and now raw sienna is a bit more opaque too, so I'm gonna add a little bit more water. Throw that on here and here. Let me take a couple layers before I like where that is. Pull a little bit of this too into the branch, just a couple of areas, not necessarily because it requires it, because I think it'll look nice. Although there are a couple areas that do require it. And so we just start building up this variation in here, and it gives us a lot of depth. This side, there's not a lot going on over there. I do want to soften it. I'll probably darken it up a little just to kind of push it back. But I want to focus more on focus more on these branches here. Okay, let's get some more of these darker values. I'm just gonna kind of run that around that circle. This is thinned out pretty, there's a lot of water on here. So much so it's starting to run. I'll just dab that a bit. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and come back through and focus a little bit more on some of the highlights and shadows. I need that to dry though. Nick said, let's see. Natalie J. Art said, what is your favorite medium and how long do most colored pencil drawings take? Favorite medium? I like too many mediums, but if I could only use one forever, this is the medium you're stuck with, I would probably go with acrylics, because with acrylics and airbrush, I can do anything I can do in any other medium. So that's probably the one, like my favorite. I don't even know if I want to say my favorite, but if I could only choose one, it would probably be that, just because I think it's very versatile and different looks that you can get from it. But I wouldn't want to give up my other mediums either, so that one's a little bit harder. And then, how long do most colored pencil drawings take? For me, anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. It depends on the size. That makes a big difference. But yeah, 1 to 3 weeks is pretty average for me anyway. But I've seen people who will spend 6 months on one. So, you know, it definitely depends on the artist and what style they're going for. There's just so many factors. Everybody's going to be different. Casey said, hey, is there a way to take the lids off take off the lids on Liquitex Basics? I'd really like to put some of this paint back. I used to try to do that. I used to scoop it. If you can, so I'll show you what let me see if I've got a mostly empty bottle. If you have one that it doesn't have as much paint and you can kind of squeeze the air out, you can sometimes, that one you can squeeze a lot, you can sometimes suck it back into it. Or I've taken a little paintbrush and kind of dabbed it in, but that was probably more effort than it was worth. The other thing that you can do is get these little, I don't think I have any over here, but there are these little vials. Do I have one? Hold on. I'm going to knock a bunch of paint on the floor. No. There goes one. Oh, there goes another one. Here's the one. This one is a little on the big side. So the smaller you go with, the better. You want as little air as possible. I can't get it out. Hang on. Come on, get out. Really? This is being stupid. Okay, hold on. I have to get a little creative on getting the. This is not going as I thought. Okay, there we go. Okay, trying that again. You can get a little like glass jar. They're not glass, they're plastic. Little jars like these. And I would go with something that's maybe a quarter of the size. Smaller is better unless you've got a ton of the same color. But something that you can seal off if you've got a lot of paint. That's going to be your better bet. But I go with the smaller ones, and I usually will squirt water into it to help it from drying out too fast. Because even when the sealed ones do eventually dry out. But that's an option too. Let's see. Jason said, "Is the name of the book? It's the name of the book series by Laurel K. Hamilton." You know I don't. You got to remind me what we're talking about. You know I can't keep up. I'm sorry. Yeah, Rhonda said we were being social during COVID on social media. Yes, we are. Okay, so. Now, I think I'm going to use some, let's see. No, I'll just go ahead and go with white. And again, I'm back to kind of dry brushing here, so I don't want a ton of paint on the brush. I don't want this brush at all. I don't even know why I picked it up. Where did the brush I was using go? I lost a brush. Give me just a second to figure out where I set that. I've got way too many brushes sitting over here right now. You are not the brush I was using, but you should work. So I'm going to use titanium white, start coming through with some of these brighter highlights. Paul said, wait, what? 6 months for colored pencil? I commend the dedication. Wow, yeah, and not for me. I'm not putting that much time into it. You go over 3 weeks and I'm out. Or if I go over, I'm not putting that much time into one piece. I get too bored. It is not for me. And I think that's the thing too. You have to know what kind of artist you are. Some artists, or what kind of person, maybe person, artist, whatever. Some artists enjoy putting a ton of time into one piece and are all sad when that piece is finished. So it really depends on the individual. I don't enjoy that. That is definitely not for me. So now I'm using just titanium white and getting some of these highlights. If I go too bright, no big deal. I can come back, tone it back down. Jason said, the Anita Blake book series by Laurel K. Hamilton. Thank you, because we know I can't keep up with anything. It's terrifying how bad my memory is. I really do think, though, that I'm almost always multitasking. I'm always, so if I clean, if I touch it when I'm cleaning, when I'm organizing stuff, I've lost it. It's gone. I won't see it till I'm looking for something else I also lost. But I think it's because I'm listening to an audiobook and not really paying attention to what I'm doing. And it's kind of the same thing when we were chatting. I'm paying attention to the painting and multiple conversations, and I think I'm just too all over the place. I don't know. That's how I'm trying to make myself feel better about my lack of any memory at all. Now this branch, you can spend another day or two working. I mean, you can put as much detail into it as what you're comfortable with. Jason said, how about the box of art supplies that you got? Yes, we are going to be doing that for sure. We'll be doing that shortly. I want to get a bit more, maybe in about 15 minutes or so. I want to get some more highlights on these. Are these lines in the photo? Nope, but I like how they look. And I'm considering, let me know what you guys want. I can sit here, actually, I'm pretty sure we're going to need another night. I'm thinking what we'll do next week is finish up the branches and start on the leaves. Because I really would like more detail on these than what I currently am going to get in the next 15 minutes. So I'm thinking that would be the better way to go. And then we'll really focus on some of the smaller little squiggles and little guys. I'm starting to put those in now, but I do think we can go even better if we put a bit more time into this one. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, we're getting a lot of really cool detail now, so maybe this will be enough. These last stages that make on any like area you're working on, they don't typically take as much time as the other, the base layers, and they make everything look so much better. But I also don't want to rush this because, being a multiple week project, may as well put the time into it. I'm holding the brush sideways, so I'm getting these little thin lines that are thinner than what I would easily get in that case with a liner brush, honestly. And this is a Simply Simmons Taklon bristled, God, I cannot talk tonight. Taklon Bristled Filbert. That one is a number 8. Now, if my bristles are even remotely frayed, this technique is not going to work with that brush. So then I'd be better off with a liner in that case. Moody Brown Studio said, oh boy, that box you're going to open is dangerous. I know I'm going to need to buy something that's in there. I've become an art supply alcoholic, especially the brushes. Jason said, do you have ADH or ADD? Not that I know of. I have problems with filling things in my memory, not joking. Yeah, not that I've never been diagnosed, but realistically, if I ever went to be diagnosed, I'm sure they'd be like, oh yeah, you do. But I never bothered with a diagnosis because it makes no difference. It's just how life is for me. What was really bad is playing the violin. When I would play in bands, there were times where I needed to start a song. Can't remember. I can't get it in my head. Somebody else has to play the first few notes, and then my brain will kick in. Oh, right, that. It wouldn't. I just all the time. There was one time I was on stage and it was the intro. It wasn't, the song itself wasn't Amazing Grace, but the intro was the violin playing the Amazing Grace, and it went into this heavier song. I started playing and I just had to stop on stage, and you don't do that on stage. I'm like, I don't know what that was. Let me start over. Everyone was just kind of laughing, but it was like, oh, I don't even know what just happened right now. My brain told me, I don't even know. I was always impressed at like the singers who could remember all the lyrics and all of that. I'm like, yeah, that would never happen with me. Luckily, I wasn't a singer. More of these little lines. I really like how these guys are coming out. And again, if I go a little too light, no big deal. I'll just come over and glaze it again. Starting to get that texture really nicely with the bark. Do I have fibro? I do. So yeah, we have what they call fibro fog, where our brain is not working quite right. Paul said, I do think my creative part of my brain prefers realistic. Tight style is because my profession deals with lots of numbers and logic and structure. And that very well be. I've heard that before, where people, it's like, they're just realistic with, like, that's how their brain works. And so realism just is more appealing. That would make it makes sense that would be the case for people. Carla said, I think you cram so much I can't talk at all tonight. I think you cram so much artistic intelligence into the brain that you are an overload. I think so too. And we love you because it's who you are. Thanks. Yeah, tonight, and it's just been a rough week, so that's, stress. My brain is just not, the things I have screwed up these last few days, it's impressive, even for me. pull a few little highlights in here and see, just keep building, keep layering and layering until you like how it looks. Like part of me says, okay, I can leave it here. It looks like trees. But I don't like it. It's not done. And so that's why I think we're going to come back next week and do those final details, come back with fresh eyes. And I think that's a big thing too. We've been staring at these branches for so long now that I know with me, I just start losing sight of what it is that I'm really focused on. So if I can come back with fresh eyes, that is going to make it way easier. And then we've got leaves we need to work on anyway. So I think that will be a good painting session. See how I keep gapping? So it's not just one squiggly line, gaps. Little bits here and there. Those gaps are important there. Jason said, your brain had to get the line out before you could start with the main part of your violin performance. I guess so. It's that one. That's always been a whoops. When they want me to start a song, it's like, please no, trust me, you don't want that. And once I hear it, once somebody else gets a few notes in, I'm like, I'm good. I'm good, because when playing with a folk band, you're playing by ear, whereas in ear and memory, like there's no sheet music. When I play classical, that's one thing. I mean, you've got sheet music there, but when you play by ear, it's a little bit different. Well, it's a lot different, actually. Yes, thank you. Nancy said, by the way, viewing friends, if you haven't clicked like on this video yet, it would be nice if you did. Yes, please. That really helps me. They say, and people go back and forth on whether or not it makes a difference. There's some videos, I'm like, they insist that it makes no difference. YouTube says that it doesn't. And then there's people who are like, we've done testing and it absolutely makes a difference on whether or not YouTube will share that video with people if there are more likes on it. So it really, it's not going to hurt. We know that. And it makes me feel happy and gushy inside. I'm doing little side, I'm holding the brush to the side and just doing these little textured marks here. Wade's moaning back there. I think we're boring him. Okay, we're gonna leave this. We're gonna come back to it next week. I'm gonna go ahead and rinse the brush and we'll go over the box opening of the supplies I bought. And this is kind of fun because I looked in it just long enough to check the paper, because I don't even remember what all I threw in my cart that night. But the paper that I ordered 2 big sheets. I ordered a lot of cans and metans. And the big, they're 19 by 25 or something like that. There's a 10 pack of that. And the box it came in was like folded in half and the paper's all bent. So I had to contact Dick Blick. That's who I ordered from. And the good thing with them, at least it's been the case in the past, I'll let you know if they changed. But when paper comes damaged, they always replace it. So it's not a big deal. Like, don't have a meltdown or be super upset because it came not perfect. It should be fine. So let's go ahead. I'm going to pull this up onto my lap. I don't know the best way to do this in my current setup. You don't need my address. Let's move that over. Packing material. Is that recyclable? I hope it is. Yes, it is. It has a store drop-off. Okay, so we have paperwork and receipts and stuff that is not interesting to you guys. Okay. Wow. So I was curious because Liquitex has new bottles on stuff. And I had told you guys how I really liked the new bottles they had on the Liquitex soft body. Well, now on some of these bigger ones, this is 400 ml, so what is it? 13.53 US fluid ounces. Big old bottle of titanium, bottle? God, I can't talk. You would think I was drinking, I swear it's coffee in there. Like, wine has too many calories, so I can't even have that right now. But yeah, so I got this. I wanted to try this big bottle and see how I liked, just convenience-wise. I guess I don't need to squirt any out, but it does have the little flip-up cap. It's very similar to how the big tubes are. So we'll see. That's kind of a neat little, let's see if I can. I don't know if I can put this where you guys can even see what I'm sticking on the, it's just going to roll away. So that's not going to work. We're just going to sit that there. I also got a smaller thing. This is an 8 ounce of clear gesso because the skateboard that I painted, I should have put gesso on it first. And I knew that going in, but I didn't have any clear gesso. And I wanted clear gesso. I didn't want white gesso on that one because I wanted that tone of the wood to show through a little bit. So I ordered a bottle of that. And this is kind of a small bottle. I really need to pay attention to the sizes I'm ordering. I wonder if they were out or they didn't have the bigger bottle, because I would prefer a bigger bottle of that. So I got that. I ordered, because you guys have been suggesting some of these ultrafine sprayers, and I ordered this one. This is the ultrafine mist water sprayer, Delta Artist. There are a few different brands who make these. I'm going to try a few different ones, and I want to do a video review on these. I also ordered, somebody had suggested or linked me to one on Amazon. It was like an artist or a stylist sprayer. I don't know. They recommended it for, what was it? The Spectrafix, the spray for the pastels and such. It's supposed to be a wayfinder mist. So I'm going to try a few of these. So we got that spray bottle, so I can test that out and see how it compares to misting. My main thing is I want to see how it compares to misting a canvas with water when painting with acrylic. Oh, someday my brain's coming back and it's going to be amazing. I want to compare with see how it compares to an airbrush for misting water to keep your acrylics wet while painting. So that's what that test is going to be for. Another plastic bag. I have a ton. Why do we have any of these? Charcoal. I really like the charcoal that we did on, what day was that? Friday, the landscape. So these are, I've got extra smooth. What else size is that? I got some different, hold on. Do I have let's see if this razor blade is sharp enough to open these without cutting off my hands. Oh, kind of. Yep, it worked. Okay, so we've got a 6B, a 4B, 2B. I was just throwing them all. Charcoal's really inexpensive, so I was just throwing them all in there. Got a 2B. That one, these are all extra smooth, it says. 6B and another 4B. Those are all generals. And the reason that I went with generals is just that's what I've used in the past with charcoal, and I know I like it. But I'm not saying they're the best because I don't use them often enough. Oh, look, I'm already getting charcoal on my hands. I got a bunch of these charcoal. These ones are Peel and Sketch charcoal generals again. Now, I used to use these all the time and loved them. These are great because when you sharpen the pencil, you don't have to use a pencil sharpener, which is always annoying. You can just peel back actually I can do that on this one. You can peel back the wrapper. Let's see. I'm not at the right stage on that. There we go. Now we're going the right direction. Instead of sharpening it. And it'll go all the way up. And this is really hard to do holding my arms out in front of me like that. But it's how you'll lower so you get exposed more of the charcoal. And I used to really like these. So I'm buying some of the stuff I remembered I liked in the past. So I got these in, this one is medium. I got a bunch of soft. And then I got some jumbo, the bigger ones that are probably soft as well. I think it doesn't say. So anyway, I got a whole bunch of these charcoal pencils. I'm not going to open them because they'll make a big old mess over here on all the acrylics. But all of those pencils, I don't know what's in this box. A big, huge thing of Hooker's Green because I am always out of this paint. So that in Liquitex Basics, that's what we used on the background here. So I got a big old thing of that guy. And then for the paper. So somebody asked last week what I would go with if I were doing like a professional, like somebody hired me to do it, I forget, something for in charcoal. And I'm like, what paper do I like? I don't remember what I used to use, but Canson Me-Tens I know is amazing and I like it for colored pencils. So even if I don't end up liking it with charcoal, I'm like, I'll use it for my pencils anyway. So I bought a whole bunch. I bought this pad here. Let's see if we can do this without messing anything up. This one is the pastels. So it's they're pastel paper. So it's in black. We know how I like the black. So we got that one. I got the pad and I've never had the pad before with the Canson Me-Tens. I've always had the individual sheets, so it'll be interesting to see if there's any difference. So I got this one that is the white, so, because I didn't actually have Me-Tens in white, so that's good. Oh, that's interesting. They've got, I guess to keep it cleaner, a sheet in between each one. Looks like a piece of glassine. So I got those two pads. These ones are 9 by 12 inches. And then I got gray tones. This one I was really excited about. So another pad, but it's all the various tones of gray. So I thought that would be really fun for charcoal to have. Oh, thought it looked nice. And then I got one big, is this the last thing in here? Yep, it's the last thing. Get the box off my lap. I got a big one of the gray tones of the Canson Me-Tens. as you can see, I really like Inktense, but this should be good. I want to play around with, I don't know which side I'll use, the smooth, probably the rough. Yeah, I'd probably use the rough with the charcoal. So that is what I ordered. Whole bunch of charcoal stuff. I need to get a storage box for those now. I'll probably order another 3-drawer pastel box. I don't know why I didn't order it that day. It didn't cross my mind, like, where am I going to store all these? I don't have anywhere to store my charcoals. So I need to get something like that because I do think we're going to be doing some more charcoal stuff. And the nice thing with charcoal, it's a really good way to quickly get something done and focus on your values. Dark's dark enough, light's light enough. I mean, that's all you're focusing on there are your values. And you can do a lot of detail with charcoal too, but I really like how quick you can lay stuff down with that, and it's inexpensive. So if somebody, when people ask all the time, what's the best of such and such, you know, they don't have a lot of money. They want the best, but the cheapest, which does not go hand in hand. Charcoal, you can get away with it's very inexpensive. It's kind of like graphite. It's very inexpensive to get started. So, I mean, you don't have to get this many pads of paper, obviously, but it's a good medium. So that's what we're going to be doing a lot of there. Jason said, I used those in college and loved being able to pull the paper off the charcoal. Yeah, that was me when I used to work because I used to do commissions in charcoal. And those I do remember really liking because charcoal breaks really easy when you're sharpening it. So that I did remember liking. I'm excited for that. Paul said, let's see, are the heavy body and soft body a must for acrylic materials? I only have the basics. I own both the heavy, soft body, and basics. I always go with the basics. I rarely use my soft body. Heavy body is good if you're going to be using a palette knife. It's very thick. So if you want palette knife like that textured painting, heavy body is the way to go. Soft body has some more colors, so that's nice that are not available in basics, which is why I got the primary type set to do that one painting we did with just the primary colors. They do have some colors that aren't available in basics, but besides that, I just prefer basics. The texture, everything about them. The translucency, I like Liquitex basics. They work well for me. And I think kind of like what we were talking about at the beginning of the live stream, where I was saying how with paintbrushes, I think I choose I go with these cheap brushes, not because they're cheap. I don't know if it's that they really work the best for me, or if it's just that I've over the years adapted to making cheap brushes work for me, because that's what I use. That was what was available at Michael's and, you know, Hobby Lobby or wherever I'd buy brushes, and they work for me. So I'm not somebody who spends a ton of money on brushes, and the paint's kind of the same. Liquitex Basics, it's nice, it's inexpensive, just works for me. So yeah, I don't think you need the heavy body or the soft body unless you're trying to do certain techniques, or you needed a certain color that you couldn't really easily mix, or it wasn't available. But no, yeah, you're fine with the basics. Kelly said, my dog goes nuts over packing material like that, and bubble wrap as well. Gibson is big on boxes, and he's back there chewing on his leg. What are you doing? Are you having grass issues? I think the grass has been bugging Wade. But anyway, moving on. Boxes, if I bring a new box from outside, he attacks it. He thinks that's so much fun to keep biting the outside. He hasn't hurt anything, but yeah, he really likes biting the boxes. So when you said that, I was like, ooh, move the paper out before he finds it. Let's see. What is this best paper for pencil drawings? I always use printer paper, but ours is quite thin and always rubs out. Yeah, no, not printer paper is not the best. You definitely want to go with an art paper. There's not one that I would say this is the best, the one I would always go with. You've got so many options. A hot press watercolor paper is going to be good. Stonehenge is fine for the pads of Stonehenge is really good for graphite. I don't like super smooth like I'm not a huge fan of working on vellum, Bristol vellum, and I've done it before. It's usable, but Bristol vellum I didn't have the best results with graphite. It's hard to get your darks dark enough. It's too smooth. There's nothing for the pencil to grip to. So Strathmore drawing papers are all good, but you want to go with an actual art paper, and smooth, but not so smooth as Bristol vellum would be my recommendation. So again, hot press watercolor papers are all great. I liked Stonehenge in the pad for that. The Stonehenge in the pad and the Stonehenge individual sheets, they are a little bit different. The company says they're the same. They are not. Any artist who has used them will tell you they are not the same. Trying to think. I don't know. You guys have any suggestions for her that you like better? But those are my go-to. I usually, if I do a graphite piece, more often than not, I use a hot press watercolor paper. Fabriano Artistico Extra White hot press watercolor paper is my normal go-to for that. Moody Room Studio said sometimes the cheaper brushes are better than the expensive ones. That's what I mean, that seems to be the case. I've looked at, there's Easel Art Supply near me. That's the only like non-big chain art supply store. And they do have some more expensive brushes in there. But when I feel them, I'm like, I'm just not seeing the big difference between this $50 brush and my less than $10 brush. Or, so, gosh, some of those brushes are like $100 and something. And I'm like, I just can't do it. That would be the brush for sure I would ruin by somehow, like I just know it. So yeah, I just like the cheaper ones. Then when I ruin a cheap brush, I also don't feel like I need to be depressed for the next week because I ruined an expensive brush. Jill said, have you ever used resin over your acrylic paintings? Could you use resin over colored pencil art? So I don't know a ton about resin. Nick said 400 series for Strathmore. That's a good one. With resin, and I need to do more research on this because I've seen people use resin and it was beautiful. But I do know, at least it used to. I don't know if they're doing something different. Resin yellows. So, and maybe it's different. Maybe something's completely different about it that I don't know about. But from like 20 years ago, any resin I knew of would yellow. So I never used it. I never got into that. It looks amazing when it first goes on. I just don't know long term. So I'm not really the person to ask because it's not something I have researched or looked heavily into because I knew it used to yellow. But so many people are using it nowadays. I'm like, okay, are they just not worrying about it yellowing, or is it different? Maybe it doesn't yellow now. Maybe that is a difference. I'm not sure on that. Joseph said that the resin heats as it cures. That might do some damage to the paper or pigments, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, I just don't know. And when going back to the graphite paper, graphite I am not nearly as picky on as I am for colored pencil. Colored pencil has to hold up to a whole lot more abuse, I guess, and hold its tooth more than I need for graphite. So with graphite, yeah, any of your Strathmore drawing papers should be good. You've just got so many options on that your graphite's not that big of a deal, but computer paper definitely not going to work for you. It's too smooth. It's too smooth and it's flimsy, so you're not going to be able to do a lot of erasing. You're not going to be able to. There's not enough for the pencil to grip to. So definitely would be some issues there. Maya said, "Could you show us the skateboard, please?" Oh, right. Thank you. I'm glad you reminded me. Okay, let me move some of this out of the way, and we'll grab that. Oops, I'm knocking brushes on the floor. Okay, let's see if I can get this on camera. It's really long, so it's kind of hard to show. Let me see if I can. I'll have to kind of slide it up so you can see all of it. So here is the top of the flamingo. I need to varnish it still. So happy with how this came out. But there is the flamingo. As we move our way up, we've got the coral. And I put a few firefish on there. Trying to get to it. You can't really see the light. I'll put it sideways. There you can see the light on the coral. This whole on the Patreon video looked super shaded because of the way that everything is. But yeah, this is the most tacky way to try to show something. It's just that it's so long it doesn't fit. The back is still the normal wood. I didn't do anything there. I just painted it that way. So this guy will be mounted on the wall just like this way through. And I believe that they're going to be making skateboard prints of this one. I'm not sure on that one, but I think that's what their plan was. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I can't really put this where you guys could, I guess, that's not working. Okay, let's just set this to the side where I won't damage it. And hopefully not unplug half my computer as I'm at it. There we go. I've got way too many wires back here. Let's see. I think I'm caught up on questions. I apologize for my brain not being here. Should be better by next week, hopefully. Do I find that my supplies have grown to fit my space? No. I'm pretty good at organizing things and being able to shove them into, like, make them all fit. I don't think that has really changed much. I don't think, yeah, because I haven't picked up any new mediums or anything. So no, my plant collection has definitely grown to fit my space, especially because I couldn't have plants in my old studio. I got no light in there at all. So yeah, I had a Sansevieria, but I had to rotate that one and another one in and out so they could trade who got light. But yeah, I couldn't have like plants doing well in there. All my plants were in other rooms. So that's the main thing that's changed, I would say. Having more space is filling it with lots and lots of plants and critters in general. I mean, I'm getting, well, not in the studio, but we'll get the tree frogs, and my husband's going to get another chicken. Let's see. And for anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, they're not actually chickens. He's going to get an Indian ring neck. We have a parrotlet and a cockatiel right now that I call shoulder chickens. And, of course, chicken's name is Chicken. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm all caught up on questions. Oh, wait, here we go. Oh, and before I forget, like I did last week, because I'm an absolute jerk, make sure to check out Nick and Joseph. Both have channels here, our moderators. They have channels here on YouTube. They're amazing. Great artists. Check them out. Tell them thank you. They help so much by moderating. But yeah, their channels are linked in the description. Definitely go, subscribe, tell them hi, watch their videos. Let's see. Sneaks, is the board a commission? Yes. Well, it's more of a collaboration with the company that makes them. Not really a commission, because he's staying with me. I get to keep him, but I've got to get good photos of him. I haven't had the chance to do that yet. Let's see. Paul said, I did spray substandard material on my charcoal piece. Over time, it becomes yellow. Oh, yeah, and that's a big deal. And I knew there was something I forgot to order. I needed to get a finish. Oh, no, wait, I didn't forget it. I mean, I did want to get a better spray because I've been using Krylon for my graphite. I did mean to order that and forgot. But that's right. We decided I was going to use Spectrafix to seal the charcoal, so I've already got that. Probably should have ordered more, though. Maya said, that's stunning. Thanks for showing us. Thank you. Serving Artist Collective said, that's gorgeous. Thank you. Vladimir said, I want to start growing pinto beans in my patio. Any suggestions on how without soil? Just water or in soil? I mean, you're going to need soil. So I don't know a whole lot about beans. I know about just growing plants in general. You're going to need soil for that, I would imagine. But I can't give you a whole lot of advice on growing food because it's not the type of... nothing I grow is edible. Everything is ornamental, so it's going to be a little bit different, but I'm pretty sure beans need dirt. I'm like almost positive. I mean, there's some things that can grow on like bark, but I don't think beans are, I don't know. I'm assuming not because I've seen them in dirt, but I'm not sure on that. So yeah, I would look that up, and chances are there's going to be, not chances are, I know that there are a lot of gardening channels here on YouTube. You'll have someone who can give you way better advice than I can there. When it comes to orchids, organoniums, I've got you, but yeah, not food. That isn't something that I've never had room for that. And even now it doesn't work. I'm pretty sure my dogs would undo any food I tried to grow. So anyway, thank you guys for joining. I'm going to go eat my beans. Speaking of beans, can you tell I'm excited about them? See, I knew that peanut butter toast was a bad idea calorie-wise because now I'm stuck with beans for dinner. Thank you guys for joining. And Friday, we're going to do some really, really like super easy, basic, anyone, beginner can do very easily. It's just some fireworks on black paper in colored pencil. So Friday will be really easy. I doubt it'll take very long, so we'll chat again and there we go. Vladimir said, thanks for the heads up. I've just seen videos of where people grow them in just jars of water. Yeah, see, now that you say that, yeah, people will use, I've seen them use those little, what are they called? Those balls for orchids. Some people will do water culture for orchids. So I don't know. I really can't give you any advice there. Okay, Baby Panda said, hi, Lisa, I love the skateboard. Beautiful. Thank you. But thank you again for joining. I will see you guys on Friday at 1 p.m. Central Time. For very, very easy fireworks. That'll be a fun, easy day. And I'll see you guys later.